What I've learned about developmental relationships through this project is that the students, our families, and our relationships with them come first. And it's those relationships that are actually the gateway to any kind of trust and productivity that we want to have.
It was never just like in a row, like how a regular classroom is. It was like everybody is included. So it was like a circle and everybody could see everybody, and we would speak about our days and stuff. And then sometimes some people had like bad days, so we tried to like, bring positivity into like their day. So, maybe it wasn't as good in the beginning, but now maybe those little 5 seconds of encouragement make a difference in like the whole day that they had.
As parents, there's so much going on, and then when you come and share activities with the other moms. So it was kind of nice to look forward to that and kind of share that with other moms.
When a school, a youth program, a community coalition begins a process of looking deeply at the way kids experience relationships in your work currently, that immediately takes you to these deep issues of equity, of effectiveness, and of your aspirations for kids. And it begins to identify the ways that you can improve those relationships, and then over time, improve the outcomes that kids achieve.
Before collaborating with the Search Institute, relationships were an implicit part of what we were intending to achieve and do in our program, but they were never explicit, and therefore they were never developed really intentionally. By learning about the core components of developmental relationships, this has allowed us to really focus on how to best cultivate and bring those relational aspects to life in our curriculum, in our training of staff and volunteers and teachers, and in how we understand and assess our program and talk about its impact.
What the Developmental Relationships Framework has done has given them a toolkit. And so when they refer back to services they're providing those students, does that service align with one of those 5 elements? When they look at their data, do they notice that they're doing more of one thing with a student but need to diversify their services with that student so that that student experiences the range of relational elements?
We don't want DR just to be a training that we've had a few years ago. We want to always revisit it. We always want to keep it fresh. So we are constantly providing developmental relationships training to our staff, to the schools that we service, to the community, so that we can all be on the same page when it comes to the importance of relationships.
We talk about the developmental framework during our staff meetings, and that is absolutely being 100% intentional about it, and it's a really good refresher and reminder for all of us that these 5 elements are very effective.
We've infused it into our entire site, so now our development manager, our development director, chief of staff, myself, and even our recruitment and admissions team are really working with the framework and infusing it throughout our day-to-day work.
We as central office staff, the executive level staff, are really invested in this work. And when we come to the table for meetings, sometimes we do things like rolling for relationships. So we have a multi-sided die, and each side of the die has a different element on it, and we roll it across the table, and if it lands on, say, share power, we give an example on how we've shared power recently or have had power shared with us recently. So we have ingrained what the relational framework looks like into the operations of our agency.
Carve out the time needed to work on the framework. It's also not a program. It really needs to be infused throughout your organization. You need to practice it daily. You need to come back to it, as a team, as a senior leadership team, talking about some of the changes that need to be made, but also celebrating the successes, sharing real world examples, and making just-in-time improvements.
Our whole work at Campfire has been transformed in the last 3 years. So these are kids that a lot of people have given up on. And when we focus on relationships, showing up for kids, building trust with them, letting them know that we're there for them, not just a couple hours a day, but we're really there for them, it changes the interaction. And it's been extraordinary to watch the impact of young people who show up without a lot of hope and with a lot of frustration, warm up and to transform the relationship into something that talks about possibilities.